very limited. At least when it comes to game decisions inside the game, I don't think they should be a part of it. We need at that point they needed points. We would have been looking at a different Super Bowl if it wasn't for that.
Okay.
On to the next topic. Alfredo, what do you think about how analytics have ruined the NFL? Yes or no?
Man, this topic is very, very, it's going against to what I always think. I personally, I love math, and I'm a big believer in numbers. And in sports, numbers and analytics have been built in
Mm-hmm.
into it. But I've noticed the last couple of years that common sense has been removed and analytics have been given the priority instead of thinking, the moments, the things, like what is the momentum that's going on, what happens if this doesn't go through, analyze your opponent, how your own team is playing, and instead they go based on these statistics and analyticals on these decisions. For example, yesterday's game with the Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers, and that's why this subject has been brought up. Dan Campbell yesterday relied on analytics to do it on several decisions on fourth down, either to go for it or to go for a field goal. And on several times, when you look at it, when you're facing even the commentators, they were questioning the decision because on the first example, Detroit was up by 14 points, and this was in the third quarter, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember that moment.
Yep.
Detroit was basically already in field goal position. They were, and it was like 4th and 3, right? Something like that.
4th and 2, I think it was, or
4th and 2, right?
4th and 2, correct.
4th and 2,
At the
and
28 yard
at the 20-yard line. Actually, I'm gonna put it here on the screen so you guys can see what exactly I'm telling you. So if you look at it here, third quarter, Detroit up by 14, 7:03, 4th and 2 at the 28. Now, what does analytics tell you? The percentage of winning is that if you go for the field goal, you have a 90.3% chance to win it. But if you go for it, you have a 90.5. So recommendation is to go for it.
line.
Now, Pedro, I ask you this. San Francisco, the drive right before this, they went for the field goal.
Mm-hmm.
So if Detroit kicks the field goal, they have a 3 scoring game. So does it make sense what Dan Campbell did, considering what happens? And look at it, the field goal chance. He had a 75% chance to make it. But then a first down chance was a 63.7 on it, since it
Mm-hmm.
was 4th and 3. The break even is 60.8.
Okay.
So tell me, why would Dan Campbell go for it?
Alfredo, look, this is the thing. We're very familiar with Dan Campbell down here in Miami. Um, he was a interim head coach here in Miami for a little bit. He went over to after the Adam Gase debacle. He went over to the Saints, and he under the tutelage of a very good head coach. He pretty much went after I think it was 5 or 6 years there. He went over to the Motor City to be the head coach of the Detroit Lions,
Yep.
uh, a franchise that has had a lot of issues over the years. Very, I would say, very difficult situation. Matthew Stafford left; they didn't want to be there. A lot of teams, a lot of people don't want to play for that team. But he brought a different atmosphere. He was the team leader. My issue with Dan Campbell, he was way too aggressive. Now I'm gonna give you a small statistic here. The Lions set an NFL record for fourth down attempts. How many fourth down attempts do you think they tried?
I think it was like 50 or something.
This,
20 something, sorry.
For this year, for this only in 2021, he had a record with 41.
Okay.
So in the 3 years of his tenure over there, from what I'm seeing here, he is let's see, fourth down, in 2021 is 65 of 123 overall. So he's gone for it 123 times. And he has made it 65 times. So he's basically 50%. Something has to have told him don't do this. But he went with the analytics. He wants to be aggressive. He's the most aggressive coach in the league, and that's pretty much part of the reason why they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, but
and also, I'm gonna put this here in the playoffs. He's gone for it 5 times. He's made it 3 times. What does that tell you?
No, he's over 500. Yeah,
he's over 500 in the playoffs. But what are the 2 times that he missed?
The San Francisco game. Yep.
So this is my issue. This is my issue with Dan Campbell. Points matter versus good teams.
Yep.
San Francisco, for a lot of people, is the best team in the NFL. Most well-rounded team in the whole NFL. They have a good quarterback, a very good defense, good running game. They have very good coaching. They have it all. Why would, if you're in the 28th, why would you not go for it? Why would you not go for the field goal? You need the points.
Not only you need the points, you need San Francisco, instead of having 2 scoring drives to be able to tie the game, they needed 3 more times. It was already in the second half. So scoring drives needed is very crucial. And that's where I tell you, that's why the analytics have, in a way, has gotten into the NFL and has taken a lot. And, we mentioned Dan Campbell, and that's why we brought up these analytics, because the time that it happened. But we have seen throughout the years a lot of head coaches that have relied on it. And sometimes, if you're not careful, it can bite you in the butt. Perfect example, Brandon Staley from the Chargers. How did Brandon Staley, he was known for being an aggressive head coach, relying heavily on analytics. And when moments that they could have gone for field goals, they would go most of the time. And it came to bite them. And now he's out of a job. Other coaches that rely on it. Andy Reid, perfect example. AFC Championship, there was a moment there that the lead, I think it was like 14-7. And Kansas City had the opportunity to go kick for the field goal to make it a 2-score game. Instead, he relied on analytics to go for it. And what happened? They didn't convert. And thankfully, since Lamar Jackson is a fraud, Ravens didn't come back. But again, this is the issue of relying with it. And because the numbers do not tell you, the same way we go with stats, that stats do not say the whole story. The same thing happens with analytics. You don't know what time of the game, if you're on the road, if you're facing against what type of opponent, there's things that factors into your decision. So I think, yes, maybe analytics are good for scouting, for draft. They have some space in the NFL. But for crucial decisions, I would go with common sense.
I don't know, Fredo. Like you said, analytics are very important to the game. like I have a few things here that I would like to say in favor of analytics. Like for instance, when it comes to player safety, injury prevention, if that's part of the reason why they moved the fair catch on the field on the in the beginning of the game to the 25.
Yeah.
They moved it because they understood that generally most of the runoffs are going to get to the 25.
No,
So
yeah.
if they're going to get to the 25 anyways, just give it to the 25 instead of the 20. And how many times do we see people running it out of the end zone? Not very much. Once it gets to the end zone, it's out.
Exactly.
So that's a part of the game that analytics has helped a lot. Like another thing, when it comes to performance analysis, there are players that do better in certain situations. That way, you can identify what their weaknesses are and what their strengths are. That 100%. I'm full in when it comes to that. I'm very happy to say that that's something that the analytics has helped. But at the end of the day, when it comes to making decisions in the game, in the heat of the moment, I agree with you. There has to be something that has a little bit of common sense that says, "Hey, listen, yeah, I know that this says 50.4% or 50 point in favor of going for it, or 50.2%. How was it? 90% something in that you will win the game. They're both the same.
Yep.
There is less than a percent. Take the points.
Take the points. Exactly. Take, like, going back, it was 80, it was 90.3 and 90.5. So it was just the same thing. Just take the points. At the end, they were both. If Detroit scores a touchdown, it still was going to be a 3 scoring drive. If they
Correct.
went to the field goal, it still would have been 3.
Look at the risk that they went through. Why are you going to try to go for it? And then it's not even just going for it. You're continuing the drive. I would understand in the fourth quarter, the one they did in the fourth quarter, more than the one that they did in the third quarter, because at
No,
the
the
end
one in the fourth quarter, no, that what the tie was going for the tie. I mean, what if San Francisco doesn't score the next drive?
Alfredo, listen, the one in the fourth quarter made more sense to go for it than the one in the third quarter, because at that point in time, you need to keep up. You need points against good teams.
Yeah,
The
but you
one
have an opportunity to tie, Pedro. I think the fourth quarter was even crazier.
I don't know, man. All I'm saying is that at that time you need, what was it, a 48? Let me take a look here. It was 49ers led 27-24.
I
It
have
was
it here.
from
39.
48.
The analytics. So let's go with the analytics.
Mm-hmm.
It said, and I'll share here the screen. The analytics were saying that in that moment, it was 38.8 to go for field goal and 39.1 to go for it. 4th and 3. And these are the chance of making the field goal was 72%,
Mm-hmm.
and the percentage of getting the first down was 58.8. So
Ah,
break even 57.4.
I
That's
changed.
huge.
I change it. I change it. I'm going against, bro. You have to take the points, bro. You
Of
have to take the.
course. Of course, they were at the 30-yard line. Detroit has a good kicker. He had a 72% chance to go for the field goal. And so that's the thing about analytics. You overthink it too much, because if Dan Campbell, if he follows analytics, if he knows that he has a 72% chance of making that field goal compared to 58.8, he would have gone for it. But again, that's why analytics doesn't give you the full story. You have to go with common sense. You have to look at scenarios. That's why, at a limited capacity, I think the analytics should, be still in the league, but limited.
Very limited. At least when it comes to game decisions inside the game, I don't think they should be a part of it. We need At that point they needed points. We would have been looking at a different Super Bowl if it wasn't for that.
No, absolutely. I mean, San Francisco, you do have to give them credit. San Francisco, went through a huge run. They had were basically the best team in the NFC all year long, and they proved how great they are. Christian McCaffrey, Kittles, Brock Purdy, again being the efficient game manager. He had a scramble. What do you thought about that scramble from Brock Purdy? Did that reminded you like Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, listen, man. I when it comes to the scrambling, sometimes I get a little bit like my heart it goes off a little bit. I get a little bit of heart palpitations because I had we had the issue last year with Tua with the concussions, but this is the playoffs. You got to go out there and you got to do what you got to do to get the win. And Brock Purdy did that. My hats off to him for real.
Yeah. He's proven that he is a very efficient quarterback. I would tell you he did very good with it. Now we have the Super Bowl matchup of San Francisco against Kansas City. Definitely, these are going to be huge. It's rematch from the Super Bowl of 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This week we'll definitely dig into deeper into that and think about it. Maybe Patrick Mahomes is getting closer to be the GOAT status.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Well, Pedro, it was a pleasure having you here today with this discussion that we had. We'll see you for next time. Again, guys, please, if you want to continue watching our content, just subscribe to the channel, like this episode, and continue watching us as we continue, through this path of the NFL playoff. Pedro, it was a pleasure.
All righty, bro.